In brief, the main requirements of PUWER are for an organisation to ensure that equipment used is suitable for the purpose, maintained to be safe, not a risk to health and safety of the user, or anybody else for that matter, and inspected by a competent person who should record the results. The Provision and Use of Work Equipment Regulations 1998 apply to anyone who owns, operates or controls work equipment. Employers are required to properly install, inspect and maintain equipment to ensure safety in the workplace. Further, users of the equipment are to receive appropriate training and use the equipment as per the manufacturer's recommendations. PUWER and its requirements apply to all personnel, including employers, employees, contractors and suppliers, irrespective of whether they're full-time, part-time, temporary or seasonal workers. Furthermore, the regulations apply to all types of equipment and industries, whether you work in a factory, on a construction site, in an office, in retail, the care industry, or practically any industry you'd like to think of. The regulations also apply equally to equipment that is owned or hired by a company. Irrespective of where your work equipment has originated from, the person in your workplace who provides it, such as the employer or responsible person, must ensure that it meets the required standards to be introduced into the workplace and it is suitable and safe before use. Further to this, the regulations apply to any type of activity involving the equipment. Typically, this includes any starting and stopping procedures, programming, setting, transporting, repairing, maintaining and cleaning. This means there is also a duty to ensure the equipment meets appropriate and suitable standards even before attempting to operate the equipment. The PUWER Regulations 1998, as amended in 2002 and again in 2013, were introduced under the Health and Safety at Work Act and fall under the Management of Health and Safety at Work Regulations 1999, which specifically relates to risk assessments. The prime aim is to ensure the work equipment, regardless of its age or origin, can be used safely without risk to health or safety to the user or anybody in the vicinity that might be affected by its use. There are some exceptions that require a more in-depth set of regulations and ACOPs. These include woodworking equipment and power presses, for example. And the requirements of PUWER that are relevant to woodworking equipment are set out under the Safe Use of Woodworking Machinery Approved Code of Practice, whereas power presses also have their own ACOP. The definition of work equipment as far as PUWER is concerned means any machinery, appliance, apparatus, tool or installation that has been issued for use to carry out a job or a task in the workplace. The definition of carrying out a job or task involving work equipment includes starting, stopping, setting, programming, transporting, modifying, maintaining, cleaning and servicing. Under PUWER, the following people or groups of people have duties placed upon them: the employers, the self-employed, and people who have control of equipment, for example a plant hire company. The duty also applies to shared buildings where there are common areas, and this would include business parks, training estates, hostels, sheltered accommodations and hotels, etc., but not private work and private dwellings. When assessing the suitability of work equipment, the employer also has to consider the conditions that the equipment is to be used in, including wet, hot or cold conditions. Is it suitable and the safest option for the job in hand, but is it also suitable for the conditions it's being used in? Those are the questions that have to be asked. For example, there are many fine and powerful 240 volt tools on the market, but if the work is predominantly outside or under harsh conditions, such as a building site or a refurbishment project with other contractors, then it's not suitable, and other options must be considered, such as 110 volt or battery operated tools. Therefore, the selection of work equipment must take into account the following, and has to be constructed or adapted so that it's suitable for its purpose, has to be selected with the conditions of use and the user's health and safety in mind, and may only be used for operations under conditions for which it is suitable. The requirements for maintenance of work equipment involve three criteria: to maintain in an efficient state, to maintain in efficient working order, and to maintain in good repair. In addition, where there are maintenance logs, then they must be kept up to date. In many cases, this will require routine and planned maintenance of work equipment with priority given to safety, operating efficiency and performance, and the general condition of the equipment. Where the safety of work equipment depends on its conditions, it must be inspected after installation and before being put into service for the first time, after being relocated, and to ensure it's been installed correctly and is safe to operate. Inspections must be carried out by a competent person, which may vary from a simple, regular visual inspection to a more comprehensive inspection that might require the removal of parts. However, an inspection must be recorded and contain sufficient information to properly identify the equipment, its normal location, dates of inspection, any faults found, action taken, who carried out the inspection, where the repairs were made, and the date of the next inspection. Lastly, if an employer sells or passes on a piece of equipment, then it must be accompanied by physical evidence that the last inspection has been carried out. Where specific risks or hazards are involved with work equipment, then it must be restricted to those persons given the specific task of using it. Similarly, repairs must be restricted to designated persons who are properly trained to fulfill their designated task. The approved code of practice requires that hazards are controlled using a hierarchy of control measures, starting with the elimination of the hazard where possible. If this cannot be achieved, then hard measures must be considered, such as gates and barriers to prevent access. And the last consideration is soft tactics, such as safe systems of work. Persons who use work equipment must have suitable and sufficient training, including health and safety information, written instruction where appropriate to refer to, training in methods that should be adopted for safe use of the equipment, and for any precautions that should be taken to reduce the risks. Supervisors should also receive information, instruction and training, and special consideration be given to supervising young persons using any equipment. All health and safety training and instruction should be within working hours and should be paid. This article does not cover every regulation under PUWER, but aims to introduce a small and new business owner to the most common elements of the regulations. The rest of the regulations cover conformity with community requirements, dangerous parts of machinery, protection against specified hazards, high or very low temperature, controls, isolation from source of energy, stability, lighting, maintenance operations, markings and warnings, mobile work equipment, and power presses. And the Health and Safety Today knowledge base contains a full HSE downloadable fact sheet dealing all the above and more, so if you visit www.healthandsafetytoday.co.uk you can download it as a knowledge base. Thank you for listening to this, watching this video and listening to this article. I hope you enjoyed it and visit us very soon.